Imagine you walk into a car dealership on a sunny Saturday afternoon. The salesperson sees you coming and walks over with a big smile. They say, "Good news. Based on your income and credit score, you can afford this luxury sports car. It is shiny and red and parked right in front. It is fast and powerful. Everyone on your street would be impressed if you drove it home. Your neighbors would notice. Your friends would ask about it." But here is the question that almost nobody asks in that moment. Just because you can buy it, does that mean it will actually make your life better? Or will it quietly control your money and your choices for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Will it become a source of stress instead of joy? Today we are going to talk about one of the most common financial traps that people fall into. A trap that looks exactly like success from the outside. A trap that banks and lenders actively encourage. A trap that can quietly steal your freedom without you even noticing until years later. And that trap is buying the biggest house that the bank says you can afford. Not the house that fits your life. Not the house that leaves room for everything else. The biggest one. The maximum. The top of the approval letter. When people start thinking about buying a home, they almost always ask the same question over and over. How much house can I afford? They ask their friends. They ask their parents. They ask the internet. They ask the bank. But that question hides a big misunderstanding about how money and life actually work. Because when the bank answers that question, they are not thinking about your life at all. They are thinking about their own risk. They are thinking about whether they will get their money back. Banks only ask one thing. Can this person technically make the monthly payment based on their formulas? If the answer is yes, the bank says you are approved. But your life asks a completely different question, a much more complicated one. What will happen to everything else after I make that payment every single month? What will happen to your savings? What will happen to your investments? What will happen to your stress levels? What will happen to your ability to change jobs if you need to? What will happen to your ability to handle emergencies when they come up? The bank checks simple math. But life is much more complicated than simple math. And this is where millions of people make a mistake that affects decades of their lives. Let us imagine two people to make this idea real. We will call them Alex and Jordan. Both earn the exact same income. Both have the same credit score. Both walk into a bank on the same day to apply for a mortgage. The bank runs all the numbers and tells them both the same thing. You are approved for a mortgage of up to $500,000. Alex hears this and feels excited and validated. If the bank says I can afford $500,000, then that must be the right amount for me to spend. That is the house I should buy. Jordan hears the same approval but pauses for a moment. Jordan asks a different question. Do I actually need a $500,000 house? Instead of taking the maximum, Jordan buys a house for $350,000. Both of them move into their new homes. Both of them go on with their lives. Nothing seems different at first. The first few months feel great for both of them. But over the next 20 years, something interesting begins to happen. Slowly at first, and then more noticeably as time goes on. Alex, the person with the bigger house, starts to notice small things over time. Saving money becomes harder than expected. Investing becomes inconsistent because there is never quite enough left at the end of the month. Unexpected expenses feel stressful instead of just annoying. Every single month a large payment leaves the bank account automatically. And slowly, gradually, the finances start to feel tight. Not because Alex made a bad decision in any obvious way. Not because of a crisis or a mistake. Simply because the decision left no breathing room. There was no cushion. No margin. No space between the income and the expenses. Meanwhile, Jordan, the person with the smaller house, experiences something very different. Every month there is extra money left over. Not a huge amount. maybe $700 or $800. But that extra money begins to do something powerful over time. It gives Jordan options. And options change everything about how you live your life. Most people think that mortgage approval means something like this. The bank checked everything carefully. They looked at my income and my debts and my credit. If they approved me for this amount, it must be safe for me to spend this much. But this thinking misses a crucial detail about how banks calculate affordability. Banks use your gross income to make their decisions. Gross income means the money you earn before any taxes are taken out. But that is not the money you actually have to live on. That is not the money that ever hits your bank account. Let us imagine someone earns $120,000 per year. That sounds like a great income. That sounds like plenty of money. But before that money ever reaches their bank account, many things happen. Federal taxes take a large portion. State taxes take more. Social Security and Medicare taxes are deducted. Health insurance premiums come out. Retirement contributions are subtracted if they are saving for the future. Suddenly the real income that shows up in the bank account every month may be closer to $80,000 or even less. But the mortgage payment was approved based on the full $120,000. On paper it looked comfortable. In real life it feels tight. And this is where financial pressure slowly begins to build. Not in one dramatic moment, but gradually month after month as the reality of the numbers sets in. When people calculate whether they can afford a house, they focus almost entirely on one number: the monthly mortgage payment. They make sure that number fits into their budget. But the mortgage payment is only the beginning of what a house actually costs. A home comes with many hidden expenses that renters never have to think about. Property taxes can increase every year. Home insurance is required and the cost can go up. Utilities are often much higher in a larger house. You need furniture to fill all those extra rooms. Things break and need repairs. The lawn needs maintenance. There is a rule in real estate called the 1% rule. It suggests that homeowners should expect to spend about 1% of the home's value every single year on maintenance and repairs. For a $500,000 home, that means about $5,000 per year. But here is the tricky part. Repairs do not arrive politely every month like a bill. They appear suddenly and unexpectedly. The roof starts leaking during a rainstorm. The water heater breaks on a cold morning. The air conditioner stops working in the middle of summer. Each one of these problems can cost thousands of dollars to fix. And if your finances are already stretched tight by a large mortgage, these surprises become stressful emergencies instead of manageable inconveniences. There is another cost that is almost completely invisible, but it is one of the most important ones to understand. It is called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is a simple idea. When you spend money on one thing, you give up the chance to spend that money on something else. You cannot use the same dollar twice. Let us go back to our two buyers, Alex and Jordan. Remember that Jordan bought the smaller house and saved about $800 every month compared to Alex. Jordan does not spend that $800 on eating out or shopping or entertainment. Instead, Jordan invests it every single month in a simple index fund. Month after month. Year after year. If that money grows at about 7% per year, which is a reasonable historical average for the stock market, something incredible happens over time. After 20 years, that $800 per month has grown to about $420,000. That is almost $500,000. And it did not require genius investing skills. It did not require risky strategies or lucky stock picks. It only required one decision made 20 years earlier. The decision to buy a house that left room for everything else in life. There is a phrase in personal finance that describes a very common situation. House rich, cash poor. It describes people who own expensive homes but have very little actual cash or financial flexibility. On paper they look wealthy. Their house is worth a lot of money. Their net worth might look impressive, but their daily life feels stressful and tight. Most of their income goes toward the house every month. The mortgage, the property taxes, the insurance, the repairs, the maintenance. There is little left over for investing or saving or just enjoying life. Meanwhile, the person with the smaller house experiences something completely different. They have cash flow. And cash flow means freedom. Freedom to invest in things that grow. Freedom to change careers if they want to. Freedom to take opportunities when they appear. Freedom to handle emergencies without panic. Freedom to simply breathe. Many people stretch their budget to buy the biggest possible house because they believe one thing very strongly. Houses always go up in value. This is a powerful belief. And it is true that housing usually increases in value over long periods of time. But historical data shows something important that changes how you should think about this. Over very long periods, housing prices typically grow about 1% above inflation per year. That means houses grow slowly and steadily, but not dramatically. Meanwhile, the stock market has historically grown closer to 7% per year after inflation over long periods. That is a significant difference. Now, this does not mean buying a house is bad. A home is important. It gives you stability and comfort and a place to raise your family. It is not just an investment. It is where you live your life. But it highlights something important to understand. A house is primarily a lifestyle asset. It is where you live. It is not usually the strongest wealth-building engine compared to other things you could do with your money. So if you pour all your extra money into a huge house, you might be missing out on the growth that could have happened if you invested some of that money elsewhere. Instead of asking yourself, what is the biggest house I can get the bank to approve, there is a much better question to ask. What house allows the rest of my financial life to keep growing and expanding? Some people use a simple rule to guide this decision. They try to keep total housing costs below 25% of their take-home pay. Not gross income. Not the number before taxes. The actual money that arrives in their bank account every month. Others use a different approach. They simply make sure they always have room in their budget for three things that matter most. Consistent investing every month. A growing emergency fund for unexpected problems. And financial flexibility to handle whatever life throws at them. This approach might mean buying a smaller house than the bank says you can afford. It might mean waiting longer to buy. It might mean choosing a different neighborhood or a fixer-upper instead of something perfect. But it creates something extremely valuable. Breathing room. Breathing room changes how you live your entire life. When you have breathing room in your finances, you sleep better at night. You stress less about things that go wrong. You can handle emergencies without panic. You can take opportunities when they appear. You can invest consistently without worrying about short-term dips. And consistent investing over long periods is one of the biggest drivers of real wealth. Over time, those small differences compound. Year after year. Decision after decision. And eventually the gap between someone with breathing room and someone stretched tight becomes enormous. Not because of one big thing, but because of thousands of small things adding up. Buying a home is one of the biggest financial decisions that most people ever make in their entire lives. But the biggest mistake people make is asking the wrong question. Mortgage approval measures risk for the bank. It does not measure comfort for your life. The bank is protecting itself, not you. The smartest financial decision is rarely the one that looks the most impressive to other people today. It is usually the one that gives you the most freedom and flexibility tomorrow. The one that leaves room for everything else. The one that lets you breathe. If this video helped you see money and housing in a new way, make sure to subscribe to the channel. On this channel we break down complex financial ideas into simple stories that anyone can understand, even kids. Because understanding money should not be complicated or confusing. It should be clear enough that everyone can use it to build a better life for themselves and their families. And before you go, write this in the comments. Freedom is more valuable than a bigger house. Put it in your own words if you want. But make it real. Thanks for watching. And I will see you in the next video.